Yeah, I think so. A little nervous, Jeff. Come on. I'm locked in, dude. I'm so locked in. It's already 60 people live on Twitter. Oh boy. Ah, man. Good evening, happy Monday, and welcome to the number one Group of Five college football show in the history of the world. This is the Group of Five, guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need everybody's help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social media platforms at Group of Five, guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this episode, last but certainly not least, conference preview. We're digging into the Sun Belt. We got a lot to get to. Hope you enjoy the show. And we are coming to you live.
I admire how much focus and energy you're putting on this part of college football.
We looked at each other, we was like, Mike, the best place to be is a Group of Five. So I'm sitting here with the Group of Five guys, right?
Troy has won, it's been a winner, and it's a special place, so it's why you want the job.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
It was across there. You want to have this thing packed out, have the student section packed out, giving those guys hell on the sideline. I mean, that's part of it. I mean,
win or lose, like we're winning the tailgate.
There's no better place to be developed in this country than Boise State.
Jeff, we're finally here. Sun Belt preview means football is upon us. Next week at this time, it will be week 0, and we will be talking about upcoming games and the future of this season.
And it's crazy like that we're actually like here and we've done all the prep, dude. This episode, let me tell you, there are so many good teams. We say it every single year. There's so many good teams in this conference. And then you add in now just like so many transfers every single year. Man, there's some damn good players in this conference.
Great hat, by the way. Same style. We both got the same style on.
Kind of classic.
These are both from the game caps. Now, I actually had this one before we sort of linked up with the game caps. This one's a Georgia Southern one I got from, shout out to William over there at the Southern Exchange store in Statesboro. Jeff, you got the James Madison one on. You guys make sure you check them out. The game caps, check them out on socials. Go to their website. They've got all the vintage style hats. Probably every team in the country, as well as some different professional teams. Stuff like that.
Not only do I have the JMU hat, shout out to them. I got it's pretty limited. Take Back Texas, GJ
really?
King's face on the shirt. Got it when we traveled there last year for that UTSA game.
See, I didn't
Maroon
want to
and golden
do.
tailgate.
I didn't want to do multiple teams on. I've been accused of being a Georgia Southern podcast before, so I thought I'd stick with that tonight on this show. But yeah, I mean, Sunbelt's always the most anticipated show we do. Obviously, just where we're located and the start of this whole thing, the Sunbelt fan bases have always been the most gracious to us. Kind of the first schools to help us to jump on board with the message and the what we're trying to do. So it's always an exciting one. We make the Sunbelt people wait. But that's also because it's probably the damn hardest one to preview because it's typically the most, balanced conference.
Yeah. I mean, top to bottom, week in and week out. And that's why you really got to look at the schedules. Like, yeah, you might have great players here, certain position groups here, but damn, you get a bad schedule draw.
Yep.
I mean, you're just adding to the gauntlet that it already is.
Yep. Well, look, before we dive into this thing, we got we're not going to be able to make any kind of announcement today, but just know that Jeff and I have been working. We've been working behind the scenes on some things that will help grow this to what we think will be something special, something big, which will in turn get all the fans more content, more access, all the things that we're looking for, all the things that we're trying to do. So we should have an announcement coming. We can't do it due to some, I guess, I don't know, legalities, Jeff. I don't know if that's a term, but we can't do it yet, but just know it's coming. So just be on the lookout for that. Also have to give a shout out to the Believe Network. You guys know we announced a couple of weeks ago, we partnered with them to host this show. A lot of great hosts, a lot of great podcasts on there, a lot of NFL guys, different teams. Our friend Murph over at Raiders Fan Radio, they're on there. A lot of NFL teams. I know Chris Sims has his show on the Believe Network. So really, really good stuff. Make sure you check them out. But really exciting stuff coming for us. Sun Belt Conference. Last year, Marshall wins the whole thing. Kind of got a little hairy for him late. A lot of distractions happening at Marshall, but they ended up winning the conference anyway. Then, of course, Coach Huff, about 30 minutes after the game, is on a plane to Hattiesburg, and about 31 minutes after the game, Tony Gibson is on a plane up to Marshall. Entire new staff, all that stuff. The other things happening, Texas State on the way out after this year, and La Tech on the way in after this year. And the Sun Belt is the only remaining conference across the country that still has divisions, which I love, by the way. In the beginning, it sounded nice, the getting rid of the divisions, because you wanted to get your two best teams. And if your two best teams were in the West, you didn't have a chance for them to play for the championship. But now you don't have divisions, and you got 15, 16 teams in all these conferences. So there's always, like you mentioned a minute ago, there's always a team or two that avoids the real top two in the conference and basically gets a pass onto the conference championship game. So something to keep an eye out for on those conferences that don't have divisions, not here in the Sun Belt. Jeff, we're 10 minutes in. This is going to be a long show. Probably we got, 10 voicemails we got to get to.
8 to 10
I just hope we get our
voicemails.
regular. Are they? I've been thinking. I haven't heard from Steeple in a long time. Terry's been back on the horn. Josh Bevel's been on the horn. I haven't heard from too many of the App State people. Baker Loy, Stu.
Baker's on there.
Good.
We got Baker on there. Terry
Creme
Johnson.
Brulee. Where's he at?
I don't know. I hadn't heard from him in a while.
That guy had the nerve to make fun of my UTSA hat I had on the other day. And I said, if you'd call the show every once in a while, I might put a Texas State hat on.
He used to be a regular.
I think
life gets busy, Sprouse. You know that.
Guy thinks they're going to the Pac-8. He's going to be calling the Power 5 guys show. And guess what, buddy? There ain't one.
No.
Jeff, what's your biggest question mark or the biggest storyline in the Sun Belt this year?
Yeah, so my biggest, I guess, question mark is, with the Sun Belt being top to bottom, so competitive each and every week, is there a team in this conference this year that can run the table and be the college football playoff rep? Because let me tell you, there's some damn good teams, top to bottom at every position group, but it's the Sun Belt. It is the Sun Belt. You got to bring your best every single week. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
Jeff, I have an interesting storyline, and it's almost disagreeing with what you just said. I think this year is the most top-heavy that the Sun Belt has been since we've been doing the Group of Five guys. And it's not because teams are down or teams are bad. It is because I think the top 2 or 3 are just up and better than they've been. So I'm interested to see where we go on some of these picks. What we agree or disagree on, but I think and that's not saying, by the way, that a favorite is going to win it, because we know what can happen. But I think the top teams in this conference are better than they've been, which in my opinion puts them on par with, like, what have we always said, right? We've always said, okay, the Sun Belt top to bottom is the most competitive conference, but we've always kind of said, well, your top American teams or your top Mountain West teams are maybe a little bit better than your top Sun Belt teams. I think this year we might have an argument with the top Sun Belt teams being on par with those guys.
See, I agree with you I agree with you to a certain point, because I agree the top 2 or 3 teams I think are really good. There's not a ton of holes at any of the position groups on those teams, but each of those teams, in my opinion, have a very key piece of the puzzle that has to work. We have not seen yet. So we'll see. Well, I shouldn't say we'll get into it.
Well, let's talk some players. So give me an offensive guy. We'll go offense, defense, and then transfer. Give me an offensive guy that we need to watch for this year.
Came into his freshman season just guns a-blazing. I'm going with Old Dominion quarterback Colton Joseph. Kojo is a absolute stud. True dual threat quarterback, can literally do it all. He can make every throw. He's not a run first type of guy, but one of the most athletic players on the field when he has to run. That's what I love about it. He's a throw first guy, but I get pressure. I can get out and make plays with my feet. He adds the run game from the quarterback position, which just gives you that extra blocker in the run game. Had 1,600 yards last year, 11 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, and then adds another 11 touchdowns on the ground as a true freshman. Absolutely crazy. He elevates every single player, not only on the offense, but the defense, because he helps control time of possession. If he can make a big jump this year, I've said it the last couple of years, Old Dominion has been close. They've been missing a quarterback. I think they got theirs.
Great pick. I'm going to go with a guy. We're probably not going to spend a ton of time on this team. So I definitely want to, as the kids say, give him his flowers because he was phenomenal last year. I think there was some talk about him getting in the portal. I'm going up to Atlanta, to Georgia State. Ted Hurst, the wide receiver, had nine touchdowns last year, 17.2 yards a catch, which was third in this conference. You watch him, like, he's not very big. He's long. He's kind of lengthy, but it seems like everything they throw his way, he catches. I mean, no matter whether it's a go up and get it, whether it's back shoulder, whether it's a fade type play, everything thrown his way, he seems to catch. And it seems like every rep that he's got on film, he's always got a step on whoever the poor soul is that has to try to cover the guy. But shout out to Ted Hurst up there at Georgia State.
And shout out to him for staying
Amen.
at Georgia State, because I know that guy was getting calls and he could have easily been somewhere else this year and stays in Atlanta.
And Jeff, and I think that's something that Del McGee is going to bring to Georgia State. And so look out.
Yeah, I agree.
Look out for the Panthers. Who you got on defense?
I couldn't just go one player because this entire room is just absolutely absurd in my opinion. I'm going with the entire Ragin' Cajun defensive line. Returned 3 starters from a year ago. You got Sprouse, number 0, Jordan Lawson, 6'4", 240 pounds, had 44 tackles a year ago, 5.5 sacks, 1 interception, 1 pass deflection. And you get number 9, another single-digit guy at the jack position, Cam Whitfield, 6'3", 250. 6 sacks a year ago, led the team, 1 pass deflection, 2 forced fumbles, and then you get number 90, Kadarius Miller, 6'2", 310 pounds. I mean, the dude's absolutely massive, just eats up space in the middle. And then you get young sophomore Chase Edwards, who's 6'7", 300 pounds. Going to get a lot of opportunity this year. Was a little green last year. Going to take advantage when you got 3 other dudes on the defensive line that are doing what they're doing. You're going to get a lot of one-on-ones on that defensive line. So shout out to the entire Ragin' Cajun defensive line.
Good pick. This has probably been my pick for the last 6 years. Jason Henderson at Old Dominion, right? He's got 439 career tackles. The all-time leader, Carlton Marshall, by the way, another Group of 5 guy at Troy, had 577. So Henderson's 138 tackles away from the all-time tackle record in Division I college football. He's had 2 seasons where he's had well over 138. So 138 is a lot of tackles, but he's done it twice. Now, he's battled injury the last couple of years. So if he stays healthy, Jeff, he's got a great chance.
Sprouse, he'll probably get that week 9, week 10.
Well, yeah, and if he doesn't get it, I guess he'll probably play again next year and just keep going.
Was he on he's got to be on year 7, right?
Something crazy. What about an impactful transfer? Who you got? Could go a number of ways here.
Yeah, you could. There was a ton, and I wanted to go a number of different routes, but I'm going with Austin P. receiver transferring up to Boone, North Carolina. I guess I should say over to Boone, North Carolina. Dynamic player. Had 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown last year at Austin P. Not a big guy, but damn, when he gets the ball, you're not catching him. He's super quick, in and out of his breaks. He can get in and out, whether it's a deep ball, whether it's a slant, whether it's a dig. Unless you're grabbing this kid, he's running by you. And then when he gets the ball, you're not going to hawk him down. So shout out to Jaden Barnes. I think he's going to be a big playmaker for that Mountaineer offense because they need him. They're going to need him this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go transfer. I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to go Josh Moten, one of the many transfers coming from Marshall over to Southern Miss with Coach Huff. I talked about Ted Hurst a minute ago. When Georgia State played Marshall, Ted Hurst had 1 catch. So, Moten had 5 interceptions last year. You look at all of the guys going to Southern Miss from Marshall, and I mean, you get the quarterback, you get the receiver, but you get a shutdown corner. That's going to be pretty dang important, especially talking about some of these receivers like Hurst and like the guy you just mentioned at App. To have a true number 1 NFL guy at corner is a lifesaver on defense.
Absolutely is. Absolutely.
You ready to dig into some teams, Jeff?
Let's do it. I mean, I think we gotta kick off the show with the defending champs.
Defending champs, the Marshall Thundering Herd. First of all, can I say something? How the Sun Belt doesn't schedule Southern Miss at Marshall this season is a shame.
Travesty.
An absolute travesty. But look, I mean, they lose everything on offense, almost everything on defense. They bring in a bunch of transfers. Here's what I'll say, Jeff, about Marshall. If they didn't win the conference last year and like it wasn't this big story about everybody leaving, if you took any other team and you talked about the transfers that they bring in, I think you'd be excited about this team. But the problem is just the narrative is that they lost everything. It's not about some of the guys that you brought in. Now, I do think that they lost too much to be a true contender in this conference. But I think the defense will be good enough to keep them in some games. The defensive line, you look at these transfers, look at the size on this. Jamal Weiss, 6'4", 300. Katron Evans coming over from Charlotte, 6'3", 335. By the way, Jeff, he wears number 5, in case you didn't know. And then Jaleel Rivera Harvey, 6'3", 300. He wears number 6. So I don't think they're going to be as bad as everybody thinks. Their schedule is interesting to me. You're at Georgia to open up. So that's where losing so many pieces and some of that depth is going to come in to be a factor. But then, okay, you get Missouri State, Eastern Kentucky, and then at Middle. So you're hopeful to be 2-2. You'd love to be 3-1 coming out of that. Obviously, we're not going to sit here and say they're going to beat Middle, but it's homecoming in Murfreesboro. We'll see. May or may not be there. But I mean, if you're 2-2, 3-1 after that, but then you just get into conference play, and they're probably going to be underdogs in all but maybe one, maybe two of those games. So I just don't see where the wins come. You know what I mean? I think, like I said, I think the defense will be good enough to keep them in some games, but I'm not sure who they're beating when you look at that conference schedule.
Yeah, when you look at the draw as well, the West teams they happen to draw are Louisiana and Texas State, who I think are going to be two of the better teams, on that side. And I think though, the defense for me is what kind of was a little bit concerning, just because both sides of the ball you're replacing a lot. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But quarterback, you get Carlos Del Rio Wilson out of Syracuse. Not a bad player. Now, there was not a ton of film on him, but the film you saw, he made some good throws. He can get out and run. He's athletic. And then you get Zion Turner from Jack State. Not a huge fan of him in the pass game. He's more of a running, type of quarterback. So I think we'll see Del Rio if I was a betting man. And then they bring in some pieces. Tony Mathis transfers from Houston. He tore his ACL, so he's coming off an injury, but he was productive, when he was on the field. Extremely hard runner, quick, good initial burst and speed is what I had on my notes after watching his tape. Then you get Michael Allen, transfers from UNLV. He was at NC State before that. Didn't get a lot of burn at either place, but I think he'll be, I think it's going to be running back by committee for them. Jashawn Barbie as well, transfers from McNeese. He's kind of been the most productive. He had 831 yards, 8 touchdowns last year. So you've got some guys. You got a lot of, receivers are all transfers. DeMarcus Lacey from Jack State. You got Antonio Harmon from Mississippi State. Big body, 6'3", 200 pounds. So can they get everything to kind of mesh is what they're going to need. Toby Payne is back from a year ago, so that's big. Your tight end, big blanket, found the end zone 6 times last year. I like some of the pieces they have on offense, but when you go into their schedule, like you said, it's just it's a tough draw. You get the physical game, Georgia. You kind of went down the list. The conference schedule is not easy. But I love what Tony Gibson's building. We got a chance to interview him. You can check that out on our YouTube page under Inside Drills. So we got them all listed out there, all kind of in order. So give Tony a couple of years. I think they're going to be competing, and they're not a pushover this year. Is my point.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I don't have them as a contender. I have them down there in that just everybody else category. But you're right. I don't think that they're going to be the worst team in the Sun Belt. Like I think a lot of the magazines and talking heads have them. But 4 or 5 wins, it would be pretty good, I think, for Marshall this year. So let's talk favorites. I think we both did this sort of the same, one in the East, one in the West. I kind of mismatched it as I got down into contenders and dark horses, but let's talk favorites first. James Madison, right, in the East. I mean, they might be the favorite in the Sun Belt. Many people, including myself, have ventured to say there's going to be a debate at the end of the season about a playoff spot for James Madison. We talk about the health of Alonzo Barnett, but they bring in Sluka. So they got a guy like if they need to go that way, even for the whole season, Sluka's more than capable. He's reunited with his coach. The running back room is just, I mean, what do you do about the running back room? George Pettaway had 980 last year. They got another 1,000 yards behind him.
No doubt.
Just waiting to go. I always say his name wrong. Ayo Adeyi, all American Conference player 2 years ago at North Texas, but he was hurt most of last year. So you get him back, hopefully. The receiver room is mostly newcomers, but you get 2 guys that were FCS, number 1 guys last year, which we've been talking about this for a long time. I'd rather you get a guy that's the number 1 receiver at Villanova than a guy that played 3.5 snaps at, LSU or Georgia. So you bring in 2 number 1 guys from Villanova and Richmond at receiver. You look at the offensive line, it's weird. James Madison, you assume good offensive line. They did give up 34 sacks last year. They do bring back 2 starters on the offensive line, and they bring in some depth type pieces that were FCS starters a year ago. I'll let you get into the offense, but I think the defense is where James Madison is going to be a problem.
Yeah, and this is one of the teams I was talking about. Like, they aren't lacking at any position. I know you mentioned the guys coming in at it. They're all great receivers. Jalen Sanchez can absolutely fly. He's a smaller guy, but he's strong in stature, and he's plenty fast enough to play, in the Sun Belt at this level. Nick DeGeneiro, transfer from Richmond, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns a year ago. Isaiah Alston is the big guy on the outside that, Iowa State by way of Army transfer, 6'4", 205, almost 1,000 yards his last year at Army. So that tells you what type of player this guy is. The question mark is AB3. Is he going to be ready? Not sure. A lot of the Twitter, I posted something the other day, a lot of the JMU fans are like, oh, he's going to be ready. This is coach talk that he's not. Either way, Sluka, I think, can fill a gap for a while if Barnett's not ready. But you're going to need, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the conference last year. It's not easy to replace a guy like that. And
Sluka's going to have to be able to throw it if he plays for a long period of time.
Absolutely. And last year at UNLV, looked good at times, and other times couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So excited about this offense. D-line is about to be.
Jeff, can I go?
Please go.
Jeff, 6'1", 320, number 15, Jeff. Emmanuel Bush. That's what you want in your interior defensive line. They bring in the kid from Notre Dame, Aiden Gobera. Not a ton of tape, 6'5", 250, though. He looks the part. He looks like a prototype defensive end. Trent Hendrick at linebacker, 54 tackles, 3 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. And then your safety, they're good right up the middle. Then their safety, Jacob Thomas, 72 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss from the safety spot. Is something to watch out for with Jacob Thomas as he comes up close to the line of scrimmage. But, Jeff, here's a stat for you. James Madison on defense since 2016, so FCS, Sun Belt, whatever, transition year, whatever, since 2016, they have not allowed 21 points per game in any season since 2016. So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at less than 3 touchdowns a game against this defense, and it's probably going to be one of the better ones that they've had. So 19, 20 points a game is what you're looking at. So can you get 2 touchdowns and a couple field goals? If you're the offense, you're going to go undefeated.
Yeah, you're going to be in most of your games, and that's what great defense does for you. And I'm going to bring in one more guy that is a transfer from Maine, defensive end. Xavier Holmes had 71 tackles, 4 sacks, a forced fumble, and 1 interception last year at Maine. They are deep at the defensive line. They are deep at the running back position. They have 2 good quarterbacks. If one of them goes down, I don't see a lot of holes on this James Madison team. I just don't. Now, they're non-conference. It's pretty stout. You get the tune-up game in Weber State, on the road at Louisville, on the road at Liberty. Right off the rip, you get Georgia Southern, who I think is going to be also very, very good this year. So it's not the easiest start to the year for the Dukes. And then you have to play Louisiana, top team probably on the other side. Old Dominion, Texas State. Your draw is not easy. And that's where I was saying, you could be stout at every single position. This schedule, week in and week out, you got to be ready to rock and roll.
Well, I talked about this probably 2 months ago on our show when the schedule release came out, is their non-conference, though, sets them up to have a phenomenal resume. Because Louisville, you're not getting blown out by Louisville. And you're also not getting physically overwhelmed by Louisville. Now, Louisville is going to be a very good team. I think I haven't even looked at the freaking AP poll that came out today, but I don't know if they're in there or not, a top 25 team. They were last year. But it's a team that you can beat or at least play tight. And then you're at Liberty, which you'll probably be favored against Liberty. But, Liberty, it's that's as good a group of 5 non-conference game you can hope for on the road. So if you somehow, you split Liberty and Louisville or you beat both of them, you're right. The conference is where it's going to get tougher, but you don't have anybody on that schedule that's going to scare you. So, I think you got a chance. Like when we're talking about, let's just hypothetically, right? If they make it through the Sun Belt unscathed, let's say they beat Liberty, and then the question mark, right? Like if you have Boise State gets through the Mountain West, say, okay, well, what happened against Notre Dame? Or whoever gets through the American, right? If it's South Florida, well, what happened against Florida and Miami? Or if it's Tulane, okay, what happened against Ole Miss? When if it's James Madison, okay, what happened against Louisville? Chances are James Madison will perform as good or better against Louisville than any of those other teams are going to do against the big name team that they play. So it's something to watch out for. But again, you're right. You know, Louisiana, Texas State, Georgia Southern, just to get the conference play going is not easy.
Yeah, and I don't like the Washington State game late either. You know what I mean? Like, it's great they're coming across the country. That is an advantage there, but it's sandwiched in between App State and Coastal. And App State, that's a bit of a rivalry game there. Those games can go any type of direction. And then on the road at Coastal to finish it off, Coastal's not going to be a slouch. At least I don't think.
No slouch. That's in the words of Sidney McPhee. No slouch.
No slouch.
That's what he said. All right. Let's talk out west. Louisiana, right?
It's got to be
the favorite in the West. Since the Sun Belt has had a championship game, Louisiana has been the West rep for 5 out of 7 years. The only 2 years they weren't the rep is the 2 Troy seasons, conference championship Troy seasons. So, and that's, under John Summerall. Other than that, it's been Louisiana every single time. They are so excited about Walker Howard. Hometown kid coming back to Lafayette to lead the Cajuns to hopefully a Sun Belt championship. We know Louisiana, right? The offensive line, run game, we know that's going to be good. The one thing that Ben Wooldridge did last year was he did not turn it over very much. So if Walker Howard, he does not, you talk about this all the time. He does not have to come in here and be a superstar. He's got to come in here and, again, we hate to use the term, but he's got to come in here and manage. The O-line's going to be good. They're going to be able to run the ball. Just come in here, don't turn it over, and make throws on third down when you have to. It's a very simple game when you do things like that. But if he can protect the ball, I mean, I think, they had the offensive player of the year at quarterback last year. This can be a potent offense. You think run game, defense, which they will, but it can also be a pretty potent offense if this quarterback is the way they think he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dynamic player. I mean, I just go back to his tape, the tape that he had, especially his huddle film and everything else. He's athletic. He can run around. He can make every throw, whether it's in the pocket, outside of the pocket. Now, you got to be able to do it at this level, but he's got all the tools physically, right? And then you get, Bill Davis and Zylan Perry back, over 1,500 yards between the two of them. And then you got all pretty much, your receivers are back. Jaden Johnson, Robert Williams, Charles Robertson, all return, have good size and ability. Let me tell you, my friend, they get a transfer coming in stealing from Baton Rouge. Shelton Sampson, 6'4", 190 pounds, big, strong hands, knows how to high point a football. I mean, this kid could be the piece that puts them over where it's like, I don't know how you stop them offensively. Howard can turn around and hand it off to 1,000-yard backs all day. You get 4 offensive line starters returning. They're big. They're physical. Then it's like, okay, we're going to bring an extra guy in the box. All right, let's go up top to one of our great receivers. I mean, Caden Jensen's back as a tight end, 6'6". I mean, I don't see a lot of holes. And then you go over to the defensive side. I talked about the D-line. They're going to be good on defense as well.
Jeff, I've been begging you for several years now. Can we please go to Lafayette if they host a championship game? I mean, you talked about the D-line earlier, right? Cam Whitfield, Jordan Lawson. Those are the guys. They'll pressure the hell out of the quarterback. The 11.5 sacks between them last year. There might be, if you could nitpick, defensive backfield is maybe not their strong suit. It's not bad. It's just not the strong point of Louisiana. But again, championship teams run the ball and stop the run. Okay. and they're going to get after the quarterback so much that it's going to help that defensive
exactly
backfield.
what I was going to say.
So you look at, this is a perfect example. I was on a podcast an hour ago, Jeff, and we were talking about Boise and the Penn State game a little bit. We were talking about Boise's defensive backfield getting kind of picked on a little bit. But we were talking about how much pressure they put on the quarterback that it didn't really kill Boise. Like, yeah, they had a couple big plays with that tight end, but they put so much pressure. They were so aggressive, blitzing and putting pressure on the quarterback. Now, if you can do it with 4 guys, oh, buddy, you are in business. You are absolutely in business. And you look at their schedule, Jeff. It's very similar to the James Madison
It
schedule.
is.
They have Missouri is their big non-conference game.
Yep, on the road.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know
what I mean?
You open up
Good club.
Rice and McNeese at home. 2 very good, like, let's figure, let's see how Howard, let's get him comfortable. Let's get a few kinks, kind of worked out. Then you go on the road at Missouri. They go into Missouri and beat Missouri. Then you're on the road at Eastern Michigan. I mean, I'm not trying to like hype them up too much. You could potentially be 4-0 when you start conference and you get Marshall, and then you're on the road at James Madison. That's what
a freaking showdown. What day is that?
That is Saturday, October 11th. Saturday, October 11th. Then you get Southern Miss at home, on the road at Troy, on the road at South Alabama, Texas State at home, Arkansas State on the road, and then ULM to finish it off. I mean, it just sets up very nice. Now Howard's got to be what what they need him to be. But they got dudes everywhere.
Yeah, I mean they're the clear favorite in the West for me. I think those are the 2. Like I talked about earlier, like I think it's top heavy, like more top heavy, but that's because I think these 2 teams are like really, really, really good this year. And I think, again, not that everybody else is not good. I'm just saying, I think these guys, like we just talked about, they don't have holes. They're good in every room. And then they're elite in a couple of rooms, right? You look at James Madison, they're good in every room. They're elite in the running back room, potentially elite in the quarterback room. Unbelievable on defense. Louisiana, elite in the defensive line room, elite in the offensive line room, potentially elite at quarterback. I mean, it's just.
And that's when I was referencing earlier, it was about these 2 teams is like Louisiana needs Walker Howard to be that dude.
Yeah.
Alonzo Barnett is a question mark. When you have a lower leg injury, I'm telling you, when you get back and start taking live bullets, it messes with your brain a little bit. And I think he'll come back. I think he'll be fine. You have Sluka as a bridge until he's fully ready to go. But the only thing that worries me is we saw Sluka last year at UNLV. Very inconsistent throwing the football. Dynamic runner. He'll run all over the place. So it's like your 2 most important positions. They got to hit for these 2 teams.
And also, here's the thing about Sluka too. See, we were high on Sluka. I mean, we had the hashtag Sluka season going, but nobody else really knew about it. Like that was a surprise for people when UNLV came out the gate like that. Now, if he gets the nod, at any point in the season, everybody's okay. We know what's coming. So that's something that they'll have to adjust for. Obviously, reunites with his coach, so they'll have some more creative ways to get him going. But are those the only 2 you have in the favorites category?
Those are the favorites that I had for each division.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go out east and say a contender that's very close to being a favorite, and that's down in Statesboro. That's Georgia Southern to me, Jeff. What have we been talking about with them? In year 1, Clay Helton overachieved, and then everybody started calling for his head, but he never had a quarterback that was his guy that he could develop and keep. It was always a 1-year guy. It was a rental quarterback. J.C. French is now that guy. Okay. Now he's got to cut down 11 interceptions. We've talked about this on every single preview episode. 11 is where you're getting a little high. You cut it into the single digits, or better. But I like the experience of this team. You look at this offensive line. Chandler Strong at center, 21 career starts. Caleb Cook at right guard, 12 career starts. Wembley at left guard, 39 career starts. This would be his 4th year starting. Your right tackle was injured last year. He's a starter. He's back. Your left tackle is 2 starts. ton of experience on that offensive line, along with now an experienced quarterback. You've been tweeting about Dalen Cobb. Dalen Cobb is the guy that they're most excited about. That's been the case since last spring. I mean, he is going to be, I think, this year a big focal point of this offense.
Yeah, I mean, they're stacked out wide. I posted the other day about, our boy Josh Bevel. You've been gatekeeping. You might have one of the best receiver rooms in the entire conference, top to bottom. You mentioned the experience, though. It's like, yeah, you got French now, right? Another year in. That pays a lot of dividends. O.J. Arnold's been there forever. I love O.J. Arnold.
Yeah.
Behind that experienced offensive line, they're going to be able to run the ball. And then you look out wide. Dalen Cobb. We saw him in the spring in a few years. Like, who's that guy? Stud. Josh Dallas. He's no slouch. They both had 600 yards a year ago. Dallas had 6 TDs. Cobb had 4. Then you get these transfers coming in. Camden Brown from Auburn, 6'3", 200. Complements this room very well. You got the big size on the outside, and you got Dallas and Cobb in the middle, right? Wasn't a ton of film on him, but the offense that he had, the targets he had, damn near caught every single one of them. And then you get Dylan Gary coming over from West Georgia, 810 yards, 8 touchdowns, another 6'3", 210-pound receiver. I mean, so you got size on the outside. You got speed and shiftiness and quickness. You can run the ball. You got a great offensive line. Let's call my brother, Clay Helton. Let's call my brother. Let's get River Helms, the tight end from Western Kentucky, come over here. Another 6'4", 240 type player that can be a security blanket in the red zone. Had 2 touchdowns for Western Kentucky a year ago. Again, offensively, don't see a ton of holes, but a lot of it does rely on J.C. French. He's got to clean up the turnovers. He looked great at times, and other times I was like, what are you doing? Last year. So,
well, then on defense, the big addition on the defense, how they go to their rival in App State and bring in Brennan Harrington, who, by the way, can somebody educate me on the rules on how long you're allowed to play college football? Because I always thought you get the one red shirt and you could play for 4 years. I thought that was like the 4.
That's what I remember.
This guy was a 3-year starter and an all Sun Belt guy at App State. Then 2 straight years he gets hurt. And then he's back last year, plays again, 66 tackles last year. So I'm trying to figure out how, do you remember it used to be you'd have to call Congress. You'd have to get a signature from the president to get a 5th year. If your leg was amputated, you'd have to beg to get a waiver. These guys now, dude, they catch a common cold. 7-8 years. Jeff, I think, call me crazy, I think you and I, not that we could help a team at all on the field, but I think we got a little social media presence. I think we could drum up a pretty nice NIL deal between the two of us, get a year left.
1 more year just to go out there and, I'm a
down there
JUCO
and be
guy.
a depth.
Diego Pavia rule. I might have 2 years left.
Yeah, JUCO guy. I'm a prep school guy.
That's right.
I might have some time. I was hurt.
They want a couple washed up old dudes.
I missed a whole year due to a knee injury. You missed? What'd you miss due to your knee?
I waited to get surgery because it was my senior year, so I played with a brace.
Badass, dude. You just played through it, huh?
Hey, I knew it was the last hurrah. I wasn't going out there on pro day anyways.
We get the swag bear missed about 70% of a season with a knee injury. We got a chance now. We can go back. I can go be a depth piece.
I tell you what, I can still be a scout team quarterback, no problem.
There ain't no doubt. There ain't no doubt about that. But hey, anyway, but he's a big time player. Brennan Harrington. I mean, that's an all Sun Belt conference guy that you get from your rival.
They're calling him Matt Williams in the chat on YouTube. Called him Benedict Arnold.
Benedict Brendan. Yeah. But he had a bounce back year last year, and he's already started some drama, saying Clay Helton's the best coach he's ever played for, all this stuff. He's starting the whole thing. But on defense, they got a big time corner in Chance Gamble too.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not, I don't think they're going to be as good as a James Madison or Louisiana on defense, but on offense, they might be, potentially could be better than those two offensively.
Yeah, they got the pieces. The only thing that really kind of worries me about them, they have a brutal start to the season. I mean, you talking about going across the country. I'm sure they're just going to stay out there because you're on the road at Fresno State, which Fresno State's rebuilding, but that's an opener. They'll be sold out. It's going to be hot, which they'll be used to, and it's a dry heat, so it's a little different. But Fresno State, I mean, they're going to want to get that win. They got a tough beginning schedule too, so that's going to be a dogfight. Stay out west, play USC on the road, and you come back home and get Jacksonville State and Maine, so it lightens up a little bit there. But, man, you kick off right off the bat on the road, James Madison, Southern Miss, Georgia State. Like, you get right into conference and get there quick.
You're going to have to recover from that trip out west because, I mean, look, Jack State ain't going to be no pushover.
No, not at all.
So you're going to have to recover quick. And then, yeah, you're right. I mean, the conference play just, at James Madison as soon as we get started, perfect. So it's going to be a fun conference because there's early games between heavyweights that you're going to think somebody's got it in control, and then somebody's going to slip up late. Yep. It's going to put it right back. And when you look at it, we're going to talk about this in a little bit. It's like you look at the way the schedules are, like because like Louisiana and James Madison play each other. So whoever loses that game now can't slip up again, because if James Madison loses to Louisiana and then loses to Georgia Southern, now you're back 3 games on Georgia Southern at that point because they had the head-to-head. So you got to look at who loses these heavyweight games and then who might slip up later in the season. But
yeah, I mean, you mentioned that. Let's just say Georgia Southern happens to beat James Madison, takes down Southern Miss, Georgia State. They're feeling good. Then they got to go on the road. Arkansas State, they got some pieces out there. And then you get the rivalry game on the road at App. Like, I mean, you just tell me which one's like,
when can you breathe?
Yeah, you can't.
When do you breathe? And that's what happens. It's when you think you can breathe against an Ark State or a Monroe, and that's the one you lose. But what about, so you got them in the contender out west. You got Texas State?
I do have Texas State. I did have one more contender in the East, so we can go back to the East.
We'll go. Let's do Texas State first. Look, once again, Jeff, they got the hype train. They got the talent. They got the upcoming move to the pack. This is the first year G.J. Kinney didn't pull in some big-time quarterback from the portal. Kind of a battle going on there right now.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'm not worried about is G.J. Kinney's ability to recruit and coach quarterbacks. So I don't know who the starter's going to be. It's kind of a 3-man race. At least it seems that way right now. You got Brad Jackson, SMU transfer Keldrick Luster, and then Pitt transfer Nate Yarnell. Jackson, he's a younger kid. He played last year. Super athletic. Can run all over the place. A good thrower of the football as well. Luster from SMU is also another athletic kid. He's got a live arm. Kid can spin it. Smaller, a little bit smaller, but they don't need a tall quarterback. We saw that the last couple of years. And then Nate Yarnell, a little bit different. He's a bigger guy coming off an injury from Pitt. I have a feeling they might go Luster, but I have no idea. Just simply because he's a little bit older, has a little bit more experience than Jackson does. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Texas guy, McKinney, Texas, who I believe plays in like the same high school conference of like South Lake Carroll and like some of the big time Texas high school football. 5'10", 225. That was stout. That's a stout quarterback right there.
You know, he kind of reminds me of? He kind of reminds me of Dwight Dasher a little bit.
He's built like him, kind of, right?
Like him, and he's not gonna like run away from you, but he's a lot faster than I think he looks on tape. And the dude's got an arm; he can spin it.
Yeah, well, and then anytime call him a friend of ours, Lincoln Perry. How that guy's still playing
Love
too?
That kid, man.
There's another guy, but he, every year it seems like he's kind of the number 2 guy, like that 1-2 punch. But they always got a good number 1 too. But anytime you got a guy like Lincoln Perry as the number 2 guy, you're gonna have a good running back. They got pretty good experience on the offensive line.
Wide receiver room's loaded again. They lose a couple top guys. Obviously, our guy Joey Hobart is gone, but step right in, Bo Sparks. I talked about him last year on Texas State's on this very episode. But I mean, he was just in a deep receiver room. So you get Bo Sparks coming back, should have a ton more opportunity. Great player at Utah Tech. Chris Don is back. huge playmaker, had 416 yards last year, 6 touchdowns. Seemed like every time he was catching the ball, he was taking it to the house. Guy's a big playmaker. And see if you remember this name, Sprouse. Tyron Smith. You remember Tyron Smith over at UTEP? Years back, 2022. Well, guess where he happens to be after a weird kind of, remember he went to Texas A&M and then he's like, no, I want to stay at UTEP. He goes to Cincinnati. Doesn't work out. Now he comes back to Texas. And let me tell you, this guy had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2022. He's an absolute playmaker. He's fast. He's shifty. He's great hands. Excited to see what they're going to use him. Then you get Marvin Anderson coming over from Cal, who's a transfer. And then you got Shamar Kirk by way of Miami. Shout out to Reedley College, JUCO up in Northern California. They always got great quarterbacks and always got great receivers. Didn't see the field at Miami for whatever reason. Deep receiver room there. They got pieces on the outside. You got running backs. You got a solid offensive line. It's the quarterback position. But like I said, I'm not worried about GJ Kinney. He can coach quarterback. So in GJ, we trust, right?
Well, what about the defense? They got to. By the way, where did Ben Bell end up? Where is he?
Golly,
Texas Tech or something?
Talk about Benedict Arnold.
Well, while you're looking that up, so they got 2 guys, Landry and Khalil, or Jolazon Landry and Khalil
Virginia Tech.
Alexander. Where?
Virginia Tech.
Ugh. All right. Well, those 2 guys played well when he was hurt or sitting out or whatever was happening there.
Getting poached.
So yeah. So they've always. I remember last year being down there on the field, and they had some dudes that passed the gluten calf test. Those are 2 of them that do, and Landry and Alexander. So they got some guys that'll get after the quarterback. Ben Bell was special, but more of a motor guy anyway. These guys are more look. You know what I mean? They look the part, prototypes type defensive ends, but I look for them to get after the quarterback. When you get to these question marks of, you call them question marks, of a Matt Sluka or of a JC French or a Walker Howard, it's like, okay, well, you put a lot of pressure on those guys, and that's where you got a chance to make them sweat a little bit, make them throw where they wouldn't normally throw and turn it over.
Well, it speeds up the internal clock of your quarterback. When you got a guy coming off the edge, he's in the back of your mind. He has to be as a quarterback. So they got Alexander. They get Kennard Snyder, who transfers over from Iowa State. Didn't do much there, but was at ULM in 2023. Guy had 60 tackles, 5.5 sacks there. So Traylon Payne, returns at linebacker for them. Think he'll have a lot more production this year. And then you get the safeties coming back. Ryan Nolan was the second leading tackler on the team a year ago. And then Bobby Crosby redshirted last year after 4 games, but he had 18 tackles and 5 pass deflections in 4 games. So excited to see what he can do in the back end. They have some holes there, but I think offensively they're going to be good. And I think defensively they have enough to be effective. And I can't wait for that Arizona State game because that is going to be a huge test. You're just going up against one of the top quarterbacks in the country. You'll find out real quick if they can get after the quarterback.
Yep. So who else did you have as a contender in the East?
Oh, my friend, I talked about the quarterback and top offensive players to watch. I think Old Dominion, my friend. Okay. I think ODU is a contender, and I think the biggest reason for that is because I think Kojo is special. I think Kojo has a chance. Now it's got to come to fruition. But like I said, he's got all the pieces that you could possibly want in a premier quarterback. He can do it all and do it all effectively. Then you get Traquan Jones, who's a running back, Devin Roshi, Maruki James, all in that running back room. And they don't have to be like anything like crazy special. They just got to be effective. And I think you're going to see all 3 of them early on until one kind of solidifies himself. But Traquan Jones is interesting. He's a transfer from Georgia Military Academy, had 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. Looking at his film, dude can run. He can get up and go. And then you look at the wideouts. They lost all their production a year ago, and that was one of my concerns. But then when you look at it, shout out to the JUCO ranks again. It seems like they pretty much was like, I'm going to take the top JUCO receivers, stick them right here. You get TJ Lott returns last year. He'd be your leading receiver. 5'11", 175 pounds. Good player, just needs more opportunity. And then you get the JUCO guys I was talking about. Ja'Cory Thomas from Hutchinson's Community College, 6'3", 195 pounds. He's a big target. He's fast. He's running by people on his film, which I love to see. And shout out Hutchinson. They won the national title last year for JUCOs. They take him, right?
Well, Hutchinson out of Kansas, the
That's
Kansas
right.
Jayhawk
Kansas.
Conference.
That's right.
Yep.
And then you take, I got the top guy there. Let me just go get his guy on the other side from the same JUCO, Trey Brown, 6'2", 185. This kid's electric. Absolutely just a burner. Get him the ball. He'll do the rest. And then you get TJ Johnson from Southwest Mississippi, 6'3", 185. So it's like they went out and like, I'm going to get to find the best JUCO guys that we possibly can. They're big. They can run. They're fast. They return 3 starters on the offensive line. I just think offensively this team's going to be a problem.
You just like them because they got all these JUCO guys, and you're a
Maybe
JUCO guy.
bit. Maybe.
No, I think they're a contender too. I had them as a dark horse though, and I agree. Here's the thing about this. I said this last year, but then they did it again. They went 5-7 last year. 6 of those 7 losses were by 1 score, and 4 of those 5 wins were by 1 score. The year before, they lost 7 games. 5 of 7 losses were by 1 score, and all of their wins were by 1 score. They just play tight games no matter what. Don't matter. You look at their schedule. It's been Virginia Tech and Virginia, 1-score game, and then it could be Monroe or somebody in the 1-score game. Don't matter. Yeah, you mentioned all of it. Colton Joseph, I think he brings a dynamic to this Old Dominion team we haven't seen since Taylor Heineke.
Hey,
up there
Taylor.
at Old Dominion. Yeah, I think the O-line it's okay. It's better than it's been. On defense, maybe I missed you talking about these guys, but Chris Trinidad, 5.5 sacks last year, 6'5", 260. Like, again, NFL prototype size on the defensive line. I talked about Jason Henderson. They also got Mario Thompson, 65 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss. I think, again, they're good enough to where at the end of the year, they might have 2 or 3 losses, but one thing swings their way, and they'll mathematically be in it on the last week or 2 of the season, I think, for Old Dominion.
Yeah, and I think Kojo gives you a chance. That's the biggest thing. You just want a chance in those games, and he gives you that. Difficult non-conference. You open up at Indiana. Got to go on the road at Virginia Tech. Some people think they'll be very good this year. You get Liberty at home. That's a good game to look out for. In the West, though, you got a good draw. You know, if there is such a thing, but you got Louisiana Monroe and you got Troy, which if you're going to get teams out of the West, I would say those are 2 of probably out of the 3 or 4 that you'd want. You're home against Coastal, you're home against App, you're home against Georgia State. Those are all games that you should win, and you get those opponents at home. It's just the road is a bit tougher. James Madison, Marshall, and Georgia Southern on the road in the East. So I just think they got a chance. Yeah, and I wanted to give them more credit. I wanted to give them more credit than a dark horse. That's fair. So now, did you have another contender in the West, or is that all you got? I did not. I just had Texas State. So I do have another contender, and I hate it. Why? Because I'm not confident in it at all, and I'm a little like, it's not that I'm not rooting for this team. I just not a fan of the way everything went down, and I don't know whose fault it was, so I don't know. But Southern Miss. Look, first of all, can I just say they scored 15 points a game last year, but you bring in, we could have talked about Braylon Braxton on the transfer, that you bring in Braxton, you bring in Elijah Metcalf, former middle guy, that gives them just immediate respect and weapons on offense. They bring in a bunch of transfers, not just from Marshall, but guys that started at other programs last year. So the whole team is transfers. And they're not all from Marshall. So that's where my question mark is like, what kind of fit? Like, how does this offensive line gel? And then defensively, they only had 20 sacks last year as opposed to Marshall, which had 36. Jamond Tapp is the guy that they get that they think is going to be like the Mike Green from Marshall last year, right? He played quite a bit at Texas in 2023. And then I talked about Josh Moten in the corner earlier. I think he's a shutdown big time corner. It's going to play in the NFL, play on Sundays. So I think you got some pieces. You obviously got some talent
offensively where I think you'll put up some points, and then you got some guys. You got somebody that's going to pressure the quarterback. You got somebody that's going to be able to cover a number one receiver. So I think you got a little bit of a chance from a talent standpoint at Southern Miss. I don't know. I don't.
I'm okay.
I didn't want, like, here's the thing. I didn't want to put them as a dark horse because I think a lot of people think like they're immediate, like, contender favorite. And I'm not there with them, but I think they can be there.
See, that's where I had them. I had them as a dark horse because I'm not sure about them. Look, you're moving schools. You're moving like there's so many factors there. And I think it's a little naive to think that you can just off of a championship win bring everybody, and Huff kind of alluded to this. He's like, we got to earn it. Like we were 1-11 last year. That was our record, at Southern Miss. So they do, and I agree with them. They do have a lot of work to do. But if I'm going to pick a dark horse out of the West, I think it's going to be them. You're talking 1-11 to potentially competing, in conference. And Braylon Braxton gives you a chance, right? He's all conference type player. He's got a championship under his belt, 1,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You love that stat. And then you add the 4 more on the ground that he had. Running back, Robert Briggs, this kid, he can run. I mean, he can run. Dude is absolutely just can fly. From Utah State, he hits the hole and he's like at 1,000 miles an hour. It's crazy. It's like his legs look 10 times faster than everybody else.
What's the guy on the Chiefs, right?
Yeah. Pacheco. Very similar leg movement as to Pacheco. I love it. So they got, you mentioned the receivers they're bringing over from Marshall. A lot of continuity is something that I do like from a coach to player standpoint. Just didn't want to put him in the contender spot because of all the question marks. Offensive line worries me a little bit.
That's the big question. Yep.
But when you got a guy like Braxton that can do it all, that's a dual threat guy, it helps you on the offensive line because those guys have to maintain rush lanes or else he can just take off and run.
All right. So no more contenders for you. All dark horses from here on. Dark horse and then everybody else. So you had Southern Miss as dark horse. I had Old Dominion. We kind of flip-flopped them. Dark horse I have that I was very close to putting as a contender is South Alabama. I hate it because we talk about South Alabama. It seems like every year as a contender or a dark horse, and it's such a shame they couldn't keep Gio Lopez around. Such a freaking shame. They were so close last year. They lost 3 conference games by 2, by 4, and by 7. They're able to bring back Kentrell Bullock at running back, who had 831 last year as kind of the number 2 guy.
Yep.
Last year.
Fluff well.
Yeah, old Fluff. Where's he?
Where did I have that?
Go to North Carolina with Lopez, maybe.
No,
anyway, while you're looking that up, I love this offensive line. 3 full-time starters returned to this offensive line that gave up 17 sacks only and rushed for 5.8 yards per carry, 200 yards per game rushing behind this offensive line, and you bring back a running back that is a borderline number 1 from that last year's team.
You know where he went, Sprouse? Mississippi State.
Can we go back to Southern Miss for a second? By the way, Hattiesburg is going to be electric. They host Mississippi State, and they host Jackson State, which is an FCS, but in state.
Schedule. We didn't talk about their schedule. It's okay.
Well, we're trying to keep this show.
I know. Anyways, Fluff's at Mississippi State. See if he has the same production.
But anyway, so 5.8 yards per carry. This South Alabama offensive line put together last year, 200 yards a game. Love that. Love Kentrell Bullock. They brought back Devin Voisin at wide receiver too. I was surprised because all those guys, you remember Bullock and Voisin got in the portal.
Yeah.
And then they came out of it and hung around down there in Mobile. And then on defense, boy, do they got a hoss at nose. Stephon Johnson, 6'3", Jeff, 337.
Big boy.
I mean, do you ever you probably don't know. Sometimes there's guys that are just so big. It doesn't matter what. It's like I remember. You remember Dontari Poe from Memphis back when we were playing, and that guy was just. I didn't play that game, but I just remember that guy being so big that you just had to get in his way, but you couldn't move him.
Yeah.
That's how this guy's going to be. All Sun Belt linebacker. Blaine Myrick returns, 101 tackles a year ago. And here's the key, Jeff. Out of the East, they don't get James Madison, and they don't get Georgia Southern. So
it's a good draw.
Look out for the Jags, my friend.
Yeah, I wanted to put him there, as a dark. I just couldn't. Just too many question marks for me. With Gio Lopez leaving, I think they got two good quarterbacks, though, in the room, and I'm not going to doubt Major Applewhite. You get Zach Pyron from Georgia Tech, who saw time last year when their starter was out, and he's coached by our former coach, OC quarterback coach, Buster Faulkner. So I know the kid's a baller. You look at the tape, physical. They used him a lot in the QB run game when he got his opportunities, but he's a good thrower of the football, too. And then you get Bishop Davenport back, who was the MVP of the bowl game last year. So I think they got pieces. I love that the offensive line is good. Outside of Voisin, I'm not sure who's going to step up. And that's where it kind of was like, I'm not sure. Devin Voisin's a great number one, but you got to have more than one in this league because then they can just double him, and it's like, who are you going to go to? So we'll see who steps up in that group. But I had him, unfortunately, in the everybody else category.
Did you really? So who else did you have as a dark horse?
Slide over to Jonesboro, Arkansas, my friend.
Wow. Okay.
Give some love to the Red Wolves.
I like it.
NWO style, Wolfpack. Yeah, I think Arkansas State, Butch Jones in his fifth year. The biggest piece to me is Jalen Rayner. Jalen Rayner is a dynamic player, and they struggled kind of protecting him a little bit last year. I think they'll be better on the offensive line. But when you got a guy like that, when you're talking about a dark horse, he can win you a ton of games just by himself. And then, their top rusher is gone, but Jacquez Cross, he's a good running back. 600 yards, 2 touchdowns a year ago. You get Kenyon Clay, who transfers from Southern Miss, 400 yards, 7 touchdowns last year. But they have their top receiver, Corey Rucker, back. 1,000 yards a year ago, 7 touchdowns. He can make any catch. He can run any route. So him and Rayner, you got that rapport there. Then you get a bunch of transfers who I think are very good wideouts. You get Nana Burris over from FIU, Jordan Smart from Ole Miss by way of North Texas. And then you get Jalen Benelli, Paisan, Italian name. At least it sounds like it anyways. I don't know if he actually is. But from Wagner, 730 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Wagner's in Staten Island, New York. That's 100%
right?
Italian guy.
I just don't want to assume anybody's nationality on this
No,
show,
you don't want to do that, Jeff.
But looked at the tape, very strong hands, very fast, very quick in and out of his breaks. So I think you add a deep receiver room to a great quarterback. The running backs are good enough. Can the offensive line be better than they were a year ago? Defensively, a lot of question marks for me. You do have third team all Sun Belt defensive end coming back, and Brian Whitehead had 4 sacks, 6 tackle for losses last year. Chris Bodie transfers over from Liberty, so you got some guys coming in. I don't know. I just think they have a puncher's chance. When you have a quarterback like Rayner and you look at their schedule, out of the East, they get Georgia Southern, who's tough. You get App State. Your home West schedule, you got Texas State, Southern Miss, and Louisiana is what you want at home. And then your road schedule, I just think it lines up very nice.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on Rayner. I think they, outside of Southern Miss, they probably have the best QB wide receiver combo in the conference. Don't like the inexperience of the offensive line, but if they can give Rayner any type of time or get any semblance of a run game, they'll put up a ton of numbers offensively. But they've been giving up the last 6 years, Jeff, well over 400 yards per game to the opposing offense. Last year, over 200 yards rushing per game. So what scares me is in the West, when you have South Alabama and Louisiana and Texas State, I just don't see them being able to stop. Anything.
It's a very valid point, but if they could, I'd have them as a contender.
That's fair. Did you have any more dark horses? I had one.
I didn't. Those were the 2 dark horses I had.
God, dude, I went real risky on this. This is this is the most unsure. Last year remember last year I put everybody in the Sun Belt as a dark horse, and it was a damn good pick, in my opinion.
You're hedging your bets.
I'm I think Troy is going to be a lot better.
Ooh, see Joe in the chat. You were getting all excited that we didn't have nothing for Troy.
Come on, Joe. I live too close to Troy to not have good things to say about Troy. Here's what I think gives, like, you talk about Arkansas State, you say they got a good quarterback and receiver that gives them a puncher's chance. Troy, I think they're good on both fronts, and I think that's what gives them a puncher's chance because they should be able to control time of possession a little bit, protect the quarterback. It's kind of a scapegoat for Troy. I think, okay, so here's what you got. Offensive line, 53 career starts on the offensive line. They're 2 guards. I just want to give them a shout out just because, in the words of Skip Bayless, I love girth and tonnage.
Easy.
They're 2 guards, dude. Matt Henry at right guard, 6'4", 345, and Eli Russ at left guard, 6'4", 319. And then look, dude, Goose Crowder is like the most sure thing at quarterback that Troy's had in the 5 or 6 years probably. They won the conference in 2022, scoring 25 points a game on offense. However, those 2 championship years, I mean, we saw it in person many times. That defense carried them 17 points a game. Defensively. Last year, Troy's defense allowed 28 points a game. I think if they can get that down 24, 23, they'll have a chance. They'll be a little better this year on defense. I like the defensive tackle from Houston, Talik Robbins. And then Jordan Stringer, the outside linebacker, 77 tackles, 2 sacks last year. They also, Jeff, here's the key fact for this, same as South Alabama, they also do not play Georgia Southern or James Madison in the East.
I mean, it's a great schedule draw. And look, I'm with you. I think if Goose got hurt last year, so obviously that was a big thing. But Goose is going to be on the loose this year. Kid can spin it. Not a super athletic type of guy, but they have good running backs. Trey Cooley transfers over from Georgia Tech. Redshirt freshman Jordan Lovett. I think you'll see a lot of them, especially early. But Jordan Leavitt, go look at his high school film. That kid, again, he's just running past everybody, and on the little display at the beginning of his film, claims he runs a 10.8 in the 100 meters in high school. I mean, it looks like looks like it on film. So you get a speedy running back with the Georgia Tech transfer. Peyton Higgins returns as their leading wideout with 300 yards and a touchdown a year ago. You get a junior college transfer coming in. You get some other transfers from one from Delaware State. Just a lot of question marks there. I like Troy though. I couldn't quite have him there yet, but I do want to shout out, nose tackle. Have you looked at this guy?
I'm sure I have. I didn't want to have some big nose for every team that I talked about.
Well, he's not really like super big, but just on film, like he's 6'1", 290 pounds.
That's
dude,
stout,
it's just like a tree stump right there in the middle. They ain't moving him. So shout out to him. And yeah, their non-conference kind of worries me a little bit. Can you get through that stretch and be healthy enough through Clemson, Memphis at home, at Buffalo? And we talked about how good we think Buffalo's going to be. Those are 3 physical games in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. But no, I always got love for Troy. Shout out Chuck Carson.
So you don't have any more dark horses, no more contenders, no more favorites.
Unfortunately. And this is where everybody gets upset with us.
So we got to talk about App State here.
Yeah, go for it.
I have them as a maybe next year kind of thing. I do think this. I think that week 1 game against Charlotte is a big tone setter, sort of season, not a season defining game. I think for both teams, but I think App needs to get some positive momentum going early. Like I was just talking about this on a different podcast. Like they weren't. It's hard to say. I'm going to be very contradicting here. Like they weren't that bad, except for just way too many lapses. Like it wasn't like they just got dominated every play. It was just like every 3rd or 4th play, they gave up a 60-yard bomb. Like just so many lapses, missed assignments, missed coverages, falling asleep on plays. I think seems like it was a mess in that locker room last year. I can't imagine them being that bad, defensively again. 200 yards a game rushing they gave up. They only had one game all year last year where they gave up less than 160 yards on the ground. However, they don't have any starters back from that defensive line, which is probably a good thing. Everybody talks about returning starters. Well, not if your starters weren't good. I mean, you want them out of there. They brought in a bunch. I mean, they brought in just a ton of transfers. It's really hard to tell. I like Dow Loggins. I mean, we talked to him. NFL experience. I think that's going to help. I think he's more of a long-term guy. Like, hopefully he's not this is what happened with App State, okay? Is you hit like 3 times in a row with 1 or 2 years and done coaches. And then Sean Clark comes in there and he wants to be a long-term guy, but you don't know what that like one and done just affects in the recruiting and all of the stuff, especially with the portal. And you don't have time hardly to like build a roster. And then I think it all caught up to him. And then it's just sort of the wheels fell off a little bit last year. The thing about it too, Jeff, is their schedule ain't easy.
No.
I mean, they're at Boise, they're Oregon State. And then you get into the meat of their conference schedule: Coastal, at Old Dominion, Georgia Southern, at James Madison, Marshall, Arkansas State. I hate it. I'm just not seeing it.
This is what I'll say about App State, because you said something before the show, and I was like, I actually don't think App State's going to be as bad as some people may think. I just think it's the first year with a new head coach, and you're trying to replace a lot of pieces. Some that didn't play well last year, and then some you had some really good talent. Not knowing the quarterback obviously it's not a plus. So you got AJ Swan from LSU by way of Vanderbilt. You got JJ Cole, transfers from Iowa State. You got Billy Wiles, who was in the room a year ago. Just based off of watching all 3 of them, I think AJ Swan will get the nod. It's kind of got the most experience. I think gives you the most at that position from a throwing standpoint, an athletic standpoint. JJ Cole's big. He's 6'7", 250. Not super mobile. So I think to start the year, you're going to go with the guy with the most experience and can move around. Running back, though, I think they're fine there. Kanye Roberts, was the second leading rusher from a year ago. It's going to get the full slate, I think, of carries. And then you get Rashad Dubinion, transfers over from Arkansas. He had 300 yards and 2 touchdowns a year ago. You come to the Sun Belt from Arkansas, should be on paper a good running back. Dalton Stroman returns on the outside. He's 6'4", 205. Had 5 touchdowns a year ago. He's a big target, which I love that for quarterbacks, especially when you got guys that aren't as experienced and they're coming into a new system. I talked about Jaden Barnes. Kid is special. Find a way. Can Loggins find a way to get this guy the ball in space, because he'll do the rest. And then Davian Dozier transfers over from Arkansas as well. Didn't get an opportunity there, but again, 6'4", 205. So you got guys with frame on the outside, speed on the inside, 4 offensive linemen return. You also get 2 starters from the FCS ranks that were starters. Will Flowers comes over from Valdosta State. I think their O-line's going to be pretty good. So, they got pieces on offense. Can you put it all together and be dynamic as a unit? Defensively, a lot of question marks, a lot of transfers. Not sure what to see there. You tack that onto a difficult schedule, in my opinion, especially when you get Southern Miss, who's going to be better than they were a year ago. Boise State, Oregon State, that kind of 3-game stretch is rough, and then you got the travel attached to that as well. I think App State's going to be good. They were very close. I was very close to putting them in the dark horse category, but ultimately I just couldn't.
I hope so. I hope so, man. Because look, and the good thing about App is their fans are still going to show up and they're still going to get after it. But again, it's one of those programs. They need to be good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look, Baker, okay, I'm not saying that they're not going to be good. And I'm more than happy to eat my words if they go on a run and make the championship game. But he just said, I'm not actually out on them, by the way. Get ready to eat some words, boys. That's what he said.
Well, the
so.
word around Boone has been very positive. And look, and we talked to Coach Loggins, and that was before he had, coached at all. But he said all the right things. He seems like he's confident in the pieces that they've brought in. But again, you're just so unsure looking at a roster that's totally rebuilt. But you did mention the offensive line. Look, that's the App State calling card.
Yes, it is.
Right? You're good up front, and you got a chance for whichever quarterback gets the nod. So we'll see. We'll see what
Matt
he got.
Williams says State Sprouse.
Well,
man. All right, who else? We stayed in the East.
Yeah. Let's go Coastal here, Jeff.
Chanticleers.
The strength of this team's their offensive line for sure. So whoever gets the QB job is going to have some protection. 4 of their 5 starters started at least 9 games last season. One of the more experienced groups in the Sun Belt. On defense, they added 11 transfers just on the defensive line. So, I mean, how do you preview this? You know what I'm saying? I almost put them in the dark horse.
They were close for me too.
See, this is what I'm talking about at the top of the show. Like, I think Louisiana, James Madison, and probably Georgia Southern and maybe Texas State are like really good. I think all these other teams are right on par with the way that they've been. Like, I'm not sitting here saying App is going to be terrible or Coastal is going to be terrible. I'm just saying I don't think that they are contending with those top 2 or 3 this season. But linebacker group is solid. Shane Bruce, 75 tackles last year. And then they really like that kid from USC, Zamarian Gordon, who played, had some playing time there. Schedule's what worries me the most about Coastal. Early on, you're at Virginia, East Carolina, at South Alabama, at Old Dominion. And then at the end of the year, you finish at Georgia Southern, at South Carolina late, and then at home versus James Madison. So, again, even if Coastal's good, it's like where are you seeing more than 1 or 2 out of that group,
And that's where I had them. I had them at a dark horse, and then I got to their schedule.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't put them in there. I do like both quarterbacks. MJ Morris from Maryland was at NC State before that. Has a really strong arm, not like super fast, but plenty mobile enough. Definitely can make plays when things break down. And then we get Emmett Brown that transfers over from San Jose State. Dude's got a live arm. He's very, very accurate. He started 6 games a year ago, 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. So I think you got a quarterback battle going on there. We'll see who wins out, and I think you're fine. I think your running backs are more than capable. Jamison Tucker returns. He was the leading receiver for a year ago with 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. Cameron Wright is back as well. He was the 3rd leading guy. And then you get Malcolm Gilly, transfer from Ball State. Only had 300 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. But go flip on that tape. That'll surprise you too. Fast. Absolutely fast. Just get him the ball. He complements Tucker, I think, very well on the outside of that group. And he talks about the offensive line. And that's where I was like, man, okay, Coastal might be onto something. Like, they offensively, I think they're going to be able to score the points. Now, last year you had the situation where, didn't Beck take over play calling like halfway through the year, if I'm not mistaken? So, like, there's some interesting dynamics there. But when I got to their schedule, I was like, dude, that's brutal. ECU, South Alabama, ODU, and then the end of the year stretch you talked about.
The demise of Coastal happened when they caved and deleted that picture of Tim Beck on the beach with the dance team. That's when it all, you never apologize. You never delete. You got to ride with it. Anyway, I'm looking at the chat, just reading what these people are saying. Like, hey, Baker, thanks for tuning in over the last year and a half, pal. Looking for people that haven't been on the show. It's like, geez, dude. Hey, anyway, what I would love more than anything is to have to go to Boone and eat,
no doubt,
eat crow in front of them.
Gladly will do it too, by the way.
Oh, 100%. Let's talk Georgia State. I talked about Ted Hurst. I talked about Del McGee, and I think the ability he's got to keep some of these guys in Atlanta, get some guys to come back to Atlanta. By the way, did you know Hugh Jackson was the new offensive coordinator at
Shout
Georgia
out to
State?
Hugh Jackson, former
Hugh
Oakland
Jackson, the vet.
Raider offensive coordinator. I think he was head coach too.
Yeah, for the Browns, I think.
No, I thought he had like an interim stint with
A little interim stint for the
Oakland.
Raiders.
I can't remember.
He might have. Speaking of, I also saw where Gruden won his appeal or whatever with the. Are the Raiders going to hire him back, Jeff?
I'd gladly take him back with open arms. I love Chucky.
Over Pete Carroll. Yeah. Really? Anyway, so look, I think with Del McGee, I think if you get guys like Hugh Jackson, they're going to clean up in the portal with guys like when you bring in names like that, it's going to clean up in the portal. Christian Veilleux threw for over 2,000 yards, only 8 starts last year. So, and then I talked about Ted Hurst. He's got himself a big play receiver. O-line a little more experienced than it was a year ago. They typically have a bunch of talent. You know, they've been real close for multiple years. And then last year, just with the way that coach left, I can't draw a blank, Sean Elliott left.
Yeah, put him in a bad spot.
It put him in a bad spot. So I think they got some pieces. They got some talent. They'll always have talent. You're in the heart of Atlanta. So you should be able to get some guys, especially in the portal. And I think if you keep this staff around, that's going to be something to look at over the next couple of years.
My biggest issue with Christian is we got to cut down on the 11 picks. 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. You're just giving opposing offenses too many extra possessions. They do bring in Cameron Brown from Texas Tech by way of West Georgia, and he's a dual threat kind of guy. So it's like if Christian's not working out early on in the year, you got to go to. Now, let's talk about this running back room, because it's very interesting. Jordan Simmons transfers over from Akron, had 600 yards and 2 touchdowns a year ago. Been around forever, 6th year of college football. Must have got that extra COVID year. Branson Robinson transfers over from Georgia. Didn't see the field there. Obviously, that room was packed. Then you get Rashad Amos coming back. You know, Miami of Ohio running back room got lost in the shuffle at Ole Miss. But when he was at Miami, 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns in the MAC. One of the best running backs in the conference. So
Yep.
you got a loaded running back room if you ask me. And I love that Amos came back to the group of 5 because I think that's where he belongs. You talked about Hurst. Leo Blackburn's a transfer from Georgia Tech at 6'5", 220. I think they're going to have a little identity this year and really want to punch people in the mouth with the run game and then go up top with the pass game. So I think they're going to be good offensively.
Yeah, and then
defense.
Yeah, defense will be a little bit of a question mark. I do like Henry Bryant on the D line, 6'2", 283 defensive tackle, 30 tackles and 4 sacks at the defensive tackle spot. It's pretty damn impressive.
It is.
From an interior defensive lineman, but again, the schedule, man. Don't you notice
they got the MT treatment? That's what I put on my notes.
Yeah. Don't you notice? And I talked about this on the Mac. I think it was the Mac show. Don't you notice that the top Power 4 schools don't play the top group of 5 schools? Like the top ones always play Georgia State. But anyway.
And then Georgia State beats them, Tennessee.
And then Georgia State beats Vandy. And then Vandy goes on to beat Alabama. And then Vandy's this year's projected national champion, according to Diego Pavia. But, I mean, you're at Ole Miss, you're versus Memphis, you get Murray State, then you're at Vandy. But then, I mean, James Madison, App State, at Georgia Southern, South Alabama, right in the middle of the season. You know, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, can you give McGee a chance?
Give him a chance, man. I mean, I get it. I know these schools have to. Huh?
They're going to beat somebody.
100%.
Like
100%.
Somebody they're not supposed to beat is going to overlook them, and they're going to beat them.
100%. And that's what happens with schools like that are in the major markets they always seem to have the talent, and they'll put together a game or two where you're like, damn, this is the team that they should be all the time, and they'll upset somebody. Last team we got to talk about is Monroe, Jeff. Second year in a row, they're going to go with a true freshman running back where they almost are expecting him to perform and leave. Like they're almost like Monroe is almost purposely doing a farm type system with these guys. Like they're like, this guy's a top recruit. Hey, look, guarantee you're the starter, and go ahead and leave. Go for it. They have a little bit of experience at quarterback. Now I was reading through Phil Steele, and Coach Vincent said that he thinks this offensive line could be as good as the O-line he had at UAB circa 2020, which of course was a Conference USA championship year for UAB. But look, like everybody got all excited about them starting 5-1 last year, but you go look at the schedule, and outside of them beating James Madison, they didn't really beat anybody that ended up being good. And then they lost their last 7, and they lost the rest of the season through. So it was like, okay, did they fall apart, or did they start playing the good teams on the schedule and they lost all of them? I'm not saying they weren't a lot better than they've been. The problem is you have that season, and where only a couple of years ago you would be excited looking forward to this season on how they could progress. But now you have to deal with, all the transfers and a different roster.
Yeah, I mean they got rated hard, right, in the portal. But Brian Vincent's a program builder. I'm going to stick on that point, and it's his second year after a great 5-7 first year, and it's something to build on. Now, Aiden Armenta, I don't know if he's quite the answer at quarterback. He had 9 touchdowns last year, 10 interceptions. That's never good when you throw more picks than touchdowns, but I think they'll be able to run the ball again. You mentioned that offensive line and the young running back. Zach Palmer-Smith transfers over from Richmond, where he had 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns, 2 additional receiving touchdowns as well. Their leading wideout is back. Their tight ends are back. You get transfer from New Mexico and Nick Trujillo, 6'2", 180. I mean, they brought in some pieces. I'm just not sure it's quite going to be enough. And when you're one-dimensional, which is kind of what they were last year, I think that's what caught up to them towards the end of this year. I think it was a little bit of hot start, who they played, and then they got to the meet, and it kind of was tough sledding for them.
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be tough sledding for them. By the way, Brian Vincent, congrats on the AD job as well.
How's that going to work out?
Monroe. So if I'm him, I'm doing whatever it takes to get myself whatever resources or funding I need, like in the immediate. I don't know how that works.
Spend it.
But
whatever's in the coffer, spend it.
Yeah, spend it, dude. Spend it. But all right, well, let's talk about big games, because there's a bunch of them.
So many.
Non-conference, I've got 3 on here. I've got James Madison at Liberty, because that is a potential, that's the conference group of 5 bragging rights. That game is just, 2 polar opposite fan bases and style types of people. That's going to be a fun one. I've got James Madison at Louisville. I think is, I talked about James Madison's schedule again a couple months ago, and I think they're going to beat Liberty. I think they're going to beat Louisville. I mean, I think they got a chance. The other one in the non-conference I have is Louisiana at Mizzou, just because I think, again, those are like potential playoff implication type games.
Yeah, I mean, you took 2 of mine. I think the biggest game I had circled was at Louisiana at Missouri, September 13th. I think it's a very realistic, winnable game for Louisiana. They're going to have a ton of talent. We talked about them. And they go in there and knock off the big bad SEC. Look out, they're going to get on a roll. The other game I had, obviously, had James Madison, Liberty, September 13th, ECU at Coastal Carolina. I think that's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a good test for both programs on where they're at. And you get a little bit of bragging rights, too.
I'll tell you, man, I'm looking at my games now, and I'm like, yeah, I got every game except one involves James Madison this year. So that means James Madison's got a ton of big games. I got Georgia in conference, Georgia Southern at James Madison. Keep in mind, that is the week after James Madison at Liberty. So, they can't get 2 up or 2 down. You know what I mean? They got to stay pretty even throughout this season if you're James Madison. And then the other one I have is Louisiana at James Madison. Here's the thing about that game. The loser of that game won't be able to have another slip up in the conference.
Nope.
That's the key to that game. It sucks for both of them because I think they're far and away the two best teams in this conference. But if you're James Madison, like I talked about, if you lose to Louisiana and then you lose to Georgia Southern or somebody like that, that's it. It's going to be tough anyway to stay in it. And then if you're Louisiana and you lose it, and then you got a South Alabama or a Texas State, like you cannot lose another one. So I think that is a monster game.
I had Louisiana at James Madison, obviously. I got two that you didn't have that I think are big games with big implications on both sides. November 22nd, Old Dominion goes to Statesboro, Georgia, and plays Georgia Southern. That's going to be a fantastic game. It's going to have a lot of implications late in the year, especially if you think Georgia Southern is going to be in it. Don't sleep on Kojo. November 8th, Texas State at Louisiana. My opinion, two of the best teams in the West going head-to-head, playing at Raging Cajun Field, isn't it?
Our Lady of Lords or something like that.
They
get that. I don't know. By the way, the new turf looks phenomenal.
Looks great.
Got the boot.
Notice, I was going to say, they got the same thing kind of middle as.
Look at middle, huh? Setting trends.
But yeah, I think that Texas State at Louisiana game is going to be big for both programs.
Yeah, well, let's make predictions and we'll get to our many voicemails. We did good, Jeff. We didn't go as long as I thought we were going to go. We tried to. I hope we weren't. Yeah, we were going quick. I'm sorry. So I think that Louisiana JMU game in the regular season, I think James Madison wins that game at home. I think in the championship game, we get a rematch. The hardest thing to do in sports is to beat a good team twice. And I'm going to take the Cajuns over the Dukes. And I think I'm going to give you a real hot take. I think before that game, you're going to be hearing all the talking heads. Like, I think James Madison's better than, Boise or Tulane or whoever it is in the American or the Mountain West or Toledo or whatever. You'll be hearing the argument. James Madison's the team. James Madison's the team. And then the Cajuns are just going to put a rest to it and ruin it for the Dukes. Give me the Cajuns over the Dukes.
I basically have the same thing, but just flip it on its head because we've been about building bridges here at the Group of Five guys. And you know what? I'm going to continue to build this bridge across the river, connect Harrisonburg to the Group of Five guys. I think Louisiana gets them early in the season, and they have a rematch. And James Madison is your Sun Belt champs for 2025. And I'm believing in it. And it's not the hype.
No, they're both
people in the chat that are like, don't believe the James Madison hype. It's the same every year. This is not
the same every year, Jeff. If it's the same every year, they would have won the conference the 2 years they were ineligible to win it.
I know.
I mean, or they're at least been in the game.
But this is solely based off of me looking at position group by position group and who they have. But honestly, it could go either way to me. Louisiana or James Madison. They're both top to bottom, I think, the best teams in conference.
Yeah, I think they're both absolutely loaded, and I cannot wait to see, all of these games, but it's going to be a fun conference once again. But I know we got voicemails. So look, here's what we got, by the way. Let me run down this upcoming schedule for us, the Group of Five guys. So we'll do one more Monday night show next week as kind of probably a looking at the season from 30,000 feet, kind of previewing every conference together as a Group of Five. And then we will be live Friday morning for week 0. Leave it at that. And then we're back at it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with a hot cup of Joe, waking up with the Group of Five guys. So make sure you check that out. So we'll be switching from the Monday night show to the morning show. Look, and the reason we do that, there's too many games and there's too many teams and players that deserve to be talked about during the season that we can't keep it to one Monday night show. And we're going to do 3 shows. Very unfair to our families to spend 2 hours or 1 hour even, 3 nights a week talking about football, along with sitting on the couch or in a stadium all day Saturday, traveling Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be a lot. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll be back. But I say all that to say, call the hotline, 615-900-4286. All season long, the best calls are the ones where you're sitting in the porta potty, you're a little bit wasted, you're pissed your team just lost, or you're ecstatic your team just won. Those are the best calls, the raw emotion calls after a big win or a tough loss. But 615-900-4286. We got a bunch of them for this show. Jeff, let's get to them.
Group of five guys. Baker Lloyd, App State fan. Appreciate you guys taking my call. So with Sunbelt Week coming up, I'm here to give my App State spiel because why not? So here's what I got for you and why I'm feeling good about the boys this year in Boone. So a number of reasons. As you've seen, we've had a lot of NFL-related guys come in. And let me tell you what. I mean, you look at Dow Loggins, but he hasn't had like great quarterbacks per se over his time, but look at some of the guys on his staff like Clyde Christensen, who is kind of one of his top senior advisors right now, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. These are guys he's been the offensive coordinator for. These are guys that won the Super Bowl while he was the offensive coordinator for. The last couple of years, he was kind of a senior guy like that in Chapel Hill for Drake May, Sam Howell. Crazy enough, Drake May, Sam Howell, they've been up in Boone throwing a little bit this summer. Terry Collins, his daughter is on the women's tennis team at App. So he's been up and around the center a lot this summer. I tell you what, these quarterbacks have a lot of dudes helping them out up there, and that's impressive. But let's hear it right now. You may have talked about, because a lot of people are talking about A.J. Swan, the transfer from Vanderbilt. But let me be real with you. J.J. Cole, remember that name. 6'7", 245 pounds, transferring from Iowa State behind Rocco Beck, who's a pretty darn good quarterback. And J.J. Cole, he can sling the ball, he can run, he's got the size. Kind of reminds you of Lenore Sellers, like what Coach Loggins had there at South Carolina. And I think it might be just a good fix that he's holding back. He's letting people think, A.J. Swan may take it, but I think it's going to be Mr. Cole. So we'll see what happens. He definitely impressed at the spring game, but my Lord, man, they've got weapons. They got 1,000-plus yard receiver coming in from Austin Peay, Jaden Barnes. Defense is bringing back App State linebacker legend DJ Smith from when we were winning championships as our new coordinator. He comes after being the co-coordinator at Mizzou the last couple of years. And, man, Mizzou's been one of the top 30 teams as far as holding teams to, not scoring a lot of points the last couple of years. And he's ready to bring that dog back to App State. And I think he's going to. He's going to get them boys right. Loggins is saying our DBs and our O-linemen are some of the best-looking groups out there right now, which is great because, Lord knows, our DBs were shit at times. It's Baker Lloyd again. I got cut off. That's my own fault. You may add this, you may not, but I just want to come back in and say one thing that sucked last year, it felt like half the time those guys just didn't care. I mean, I was down there on the sideline during that South Alabama game when we were just getting whipped, and those boys had no fight in them. They didn't care. But, man, that's been a focus. We got rid of a lot of that this year, and we got guys who, some of them were there last year, but there's a change. They want to be there now. They're having fun with what's going on. They respect the coaches. There was a lot of respect, I think, lost at times last year. And I tell you what, Coach Loggins, he's got a team of guys that care. They want to play for each other. They want to play for their coaches. And by God, we're going to come out there and see what they do. And I'm setting the mark. We got to get to 8 wins at least this year. I know it's bold, but that's the Appalachian way, baby. We win football games. So go Mountaineers. Let's go win the Sun Belt. Let's go find us in the G5 position in the damn playoff, baby. Roll Nears.
Appreciate you, Baker.
You know what quarterback he didn't mention as he was rattling off all those great players, Jeff?
Who?
Ryan Tannehill. Guy has been in my nightmares for 2 decades now, Jeff. Maybe that's why I have a little bit of a, I'm a little hesitant on the Mountaineers.
The guy gave you a lot of pain and
Man, I
suffering.
mean, that guy single-handedly ruined my high school, my college years in NFL football.
Nah, appreciate you, Baker. Appreciate you listening. He was in the chat saying he listens even though when he doesn't call. So he didn't go anywhere, Sprouse. He didn't go anywhere.
Well, how come he didn't know Tip and Swag were gone? Hey, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I got to give a little backstory to this quickly. When we did our Mac show, Dan Rocketman Savage had a couple things to say in the chat about the Sun Belt. So good old Terry Johnson, he's got a two-parter. One's directed to Dan the Rocket Man, and we'll go to that one first.
Group of Five guys, Terry Johnson calling, and I'm probably going to call another time. But first, I got to get this out of the way. Dan the Rocket Man Savage. I'll put it like this. I respect Toledo, but don't you dare besmirch the Sunbelt name. Okay?
We're back.
But let's be honest. I'm going to just give you the facts, all right? Aside from Boise State, the Mountain West has only had 3 other teams finish in the top 25 in the playoff era. Playoff era started in 2014. That's when the official playoff New Year's Six era began, all right? 2014. So only 3. Outside of Boise State, because I think they were butterfly, but if you include them, they finished top 25 6 times. UNLV, Fresno State, and San Jose State finished 3 other times. San Jose State, that was in the 2020 season, I think they only played 8 games. No Power 4 opponents. All right? Conference USA, nothing against you guys. I know you went to Middle Tennessee. You're Conference USA alums. And to be honest with you, Conference USA is listed under the Southland Conference when it comes to scheduling and just level of competition. That's just the facts, all right? Liberty has finished in the top 25 once with no Power 4 wins. And aside from that good win they had in the conference championship game, oh, yes, also they played another time against Diego Pavia and the great Vanderbilt, New Mexico State Aggies, whatever they were. Conference USA hasn't really been anything in the playoff era. The MAC has only had one team finish in the top 25 in the playoff era, and that was Row Your Boat, freaking Western Michigan, which is a great team. But other than that, they've only finished one team. The Sun Belt has 5 different teams in the playoff era, 5 different occasions. Teams finishing in the top 25 in the playoff era. 2 times, the Raging Cajuns. Don't forget it. App State, Troy, Coastal Carolina. All right, finishing in the top 25 in the playoff era. Also, I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Aside from the American Conference, Conference USA, Sun Belt is the top to bottom most competitive conference when you look at the Group of 5 and how they compete with Power 4 competition. I'm just being honest. I like the MAC. I tolerate Conference USA. I like the Mountain West. But when you put the top 7 Sunbelt schools against the top 7 MAC, Conference USA, Mountain West schools, the Sunbelt finishes in the top. Finishes 5 out of 7. All right, we win 5 out of 7 of those games. I'm just being. You look at the metrics. That's just the facts. All right. So just because we haven't been to any New Year's Six bowl games, I mean, honestly, I think you just went through a horrible cupcake schedule. The Sun Belt always eats itself, and so the Sun Belt will probably never get to a New Year's Six game or playoff bid because we constantly eat ourselves because it's so good. The schedule is so difficult. All right. I'm just putting that out there, right there.
Appreciate you. That was part 1. Dan Rocketman called in this week too.
Did you really? You know, first of all, though, Jeff, you're technically a Sunbelt alum, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't play in Conference USA. Sunbelt only, baby. All right, let's check in with Rocket Man.
What's up, boys? This is Dan Rocket Man Savage here. A little birdie told me that someone was mad that I disrespected the Sun Belt or something like that. I don't know really where that came from, but I will say the MAC does have 2 New Year's Six reps and the Sun Belt has 0. But I'll give you, for what it is, the Sun Belt is a tougher conference from top to bottom. We know that. Obviously, as a Toledo fan, it'd be a lot tougher to win the conference if we were in the Sun Belt. The root of the argument, though, is just the flack that Sun Belt fans give the MAC. Because you think just because we're Toledo and we're in the MAC that we're not good, and that's just flat out wrong. So, Terry, sorry, bro. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, but I got some Raging Cajuns gear. I'll throw on and post a picture on Twitter tonight for you. So enjoy your weekend. Love you. Bye-bye.
See, it's all love, man. It's all love.
Great. That's great stuff.
I mean, numbers are numbers, stats are stats. He acknowledged top to bottom Sunbelt's more difficult, which I'd agree with that. But
yeah,
let's keep the ball rolling. Let's go to Terry's part 2, these actual call about the Sunbelt.
Yeah. Let's get it.
All right, guys. Terry Johnson calling back a second time.
If
you're going to play this. But I just want to give you my Sunbelt preview. First of all, for my Cajuns, I'm be honest with you, I think 8 wins is the ceiling. We lost a lot of good experience, starting experience.
He's downplaying.
You returned a lot of guys that did playing
is.
time on the offensive line.
Lost service.
All right, well.
See if it comes back in. I don't know.
Terry always does that, though. He downplays everything about the Cajuns, and then,
Yeah. Dang, I would have. See, I only checked the beginning of that because I was trying not to listen to him all the way. So it's like
live
reactions. But sorry about that, Terry. I guess your phone cut out.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Well, what else we got?
Let's keep it rolling.
Group of 5 guys, Josh Bevel here. Going to try to keep this short and sweet. I want to be loud on this one, but it's in the next 24 hours. I will have a little boy in my arms, future Georgia Southern Eagle.
There we go.
So I want to be loud. So shout out to all my dads out there first off. But anyway, JMU's the favorite out of the East to win the Sun Belt. Louisiana's the odds-on betting favorite, I believe, to win the Sun Belt, not only the West. As they should be. Shout out Terry Johnson. I think the Cajuns will be pretty good this year. But JMU, I mean, is Alonzo Barnett even going to be the starter? I mean, he's getting all of this hype, this, that. But they got that kid from UNLV. So hopefully by the time y'all's podcast comes out, I'll already know the answer to that question. But anyway, Eagles are the 3rd favorite to win the Sun Belt, 2nd favorite out of the East. And I believe this is the year, fellas. You got J.C. French returning as a starter, first returning starter since Shy Wirtz for you Georgia Southern fans. Got some new faces in the receiver room. Receiver room is deep, boys, deep. Running back room is deep. Not going to go list of names because I could go on and on and on. Defense improved much better. Safeties are a little bit of a question mark, but I feel like, we've been running the 4-2-5, kind of switched it up a little bit. We can see a little 3-man front depending on the situation. Coach Bailey likes to switch it up. But I'm telling you, this is the year for the Eagles. This is the year. No dark horse, no nothing. We are the damn favorite, boys. We're going to win it. I'm telling you, I want to face Louisiana in it. Sorry, Terry. It'll be in Statesboro, baby. In Statesboro. Come on. If you're a betting man in a legal gambling state, take the Eagles to win the conference and take the over 7.5. Hail Southern. God bless the group of 5 guys.
What a call.
Great call. Congratulations. I was gonna text him the other day and because I knew it was coming soon. Congratulations, man. Baby boy, he said?
I think that's what he said.
God, there's so much alpha in this group of 5 guys.
That's what we are.
You know what I mean? You can't make girls. Too much testosterone. The doctors, in fact, I'm too much testosterone. But yeah, man. Well, congrats, dude. That's awesome. Hopefully you'll be able to get the baby out there to Statesboro, catch a couple of games, and Statesboro Sprouts will probably be there for 1 or 2 of them.
Typically are at least once a year. But all right, let's keep rolling. We got a couple more left.
Hey, buddy, it's the Juice Man. Hey, I know y'all talked a while back about what you think ESPN is going to wind up doing come football season, and I've seen something today already that pissed me off. They got something with the wrestling with WWE starting August 21st. If you want to watch the pay-per-views and all that, instead of it being on Peacock or whatever, it's on the ESPN, and you'll have to pay $30 a month to watch the wrestling. So I'm a wrestling fan, so that kind of got me in my feelings. But I'm betting they're going to wind up doing that with college football and all that too, because it seems like ESPN, Hulu, and Disney is trying to monopoly everything. I saw ESPN is already in talks with getting NFL Red Zone and stuff like that. So I just wanted to see if y'all were upset about it like I am. And do you think, like, if we want to watch our group of 5 teams, you think we're going to have to upgrade to that ESPN crap or whatever? But, all right, just tell me what you think about it. Bye.
Appreciate you, Juice. Long time no talk. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it for wrestling purposes or ESPN or for college football purposes. I think you're gonna have to. If you want the full ESPN like package that you get all the group of 5 games, I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to pay it, which is ridiculous. And they're doing it is because they're bleeding money. They're trying to find, WWE, whether you like it or not, is a huge draw. So if they can get that, it brings more eyes to their platform.
Well, you can't, like, in my opinion, just one guy, nothing on ESPN is watchable except live sports. And that's what they do, man. With their live sports, they flex on that, and it's great. But it's the more they get, they're going to get the NFL Network and Red Zone and all that stuff. They're going to ruin that. It's like, I don't know. I hate it. I also saw, I think it was today, where UFC struck that deal with Paramount.
Yeah.
So are they leaving ESPN? Because they've been with ESPN.
I think so. I haven't looked into it, but to me, that's what it sounds like.
But that'll be, I mean, if you have Paramount, that'll be good because you won't have to pay-per-view UFC fights. But I also thought, didn't UFC and WWE partnered with that TKO group, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that fell through or like whatever happened with that. It's a mess. People are scrambling. Everybody's going,
and everybody, once again, Jeff, the Nostradamus, Matt Sprouse was correct on all the streaming platforms, and everybody got all mad at me because I was like, no, I actually like my just regular DirecTV or my regular cable.
It's no more.
And everybody was like, oh, but get Hulu. Oh, but get YouTube. It's cheaper. Oh, get Amazon. Well, yeah. Now, congratulations. You got Paramount, Hulu, Amazon, ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Peacock, all to watch a football game.
Yeah.
We've played ourselves. That's what we've done.
Yeah. It's all going to hell in a handbasket. You know that.
You know what the solution is, Jeff? Go to the game in person.
Bingo. Bingo bongo. Let's check in with a thundering herd.
Group of 5 guys, what's up? It's your boy Ace Boggs, fan of the defending Sun Belt champion Marshall Thundering Herd. Rumors of our demise have been extremely exaggerated here. Yes, we have a whole new roster. Yes, we have a whole new coaching staff. But let me tell you why we're going to be successful this year. I'm not a delusional Marshall fan. I'm not going to dispute what, try to minimize what Huff did. Huff did a great job. He's a great recruiter of talent. But situationally, game management, we are better. We have more experienced coaches, and we have just the amount of talent we had last year. So I expect good things, at least an 8-win season, maybe a repeat SE champions. Go Herd.
Yeah, I mean, I told you, I think they're going to be better than what people think. So
yeah, I'm with you. I think everybody, the problem is, again, dude, like these teams might be better than we think, but they still might be 4-8, or 5-7. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody else is good.
That's very true. Very true. Appreciate the call. We got 2 more, and we're out of here.
Group of 5 guys. Thanks for taking my call. This is Sean O'Toole, just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I know this is going to be the Sun Belt week, but I was actually calling as we're approaching the season, and I'd like to get your take on maybe projecting your preseason all Group of 5 teams. So, similar to the preseason awards watch lists. Who do you guys got as the all Group of 5 teams? Quarterback, running back, DT, all those. So just love to hear your input, your thoughts as we lead into the season. Maybe review it at the end of the year and see how it landed. But that's my thought. So thanks for everything you all are doing, and I'll sit back and listen.
Appreciate you, Sean. He's always got great info. Great question.
He does, and that's we'll get that. We'll talk about that on the next show. We'll talk about
that's a good.
We'll do that.
Yeah,
maybe we'll do a as we complain and we should abolish any preseason polls. We'll probably do a preseason poll next week too. So
got a lot of work to do. All right, let's end it. Conference USA's finest, Zach Green.
Oh, welcome back.
What's up, guys? This is the artist formerly known as DG Go Flames here, Zach Green. Hope y'all are doing well. Been enjoying the show. I'm right in the middle of the MAC episode right now. Looking forward to y'all closing out these previews. Been enjoying that. But, man, the season is almost here, and I'm happy to say for the first time ever, I'm officially a Liberty University football season ticket holder. With a great group of guys that welcomed me into their season ticket group this year. So I will be at most of the home games this year. Hope to see y'all for that big game on September 20th. Needless to say, that game is going to be huge. I think we're going to have a good team this year. Obviously, I don't get to impose the standard on the team because, the coaches deal with that. But, that's what we do. We like to come up with our own ideas and critique things that we're not authorized to critique. But my personal, expectation for the team is at least a 10-2 regular season and a berth in the conference championship game. I'm going to predict that we win the conference championship game and finish with an 11-2 record. I'm not exactly sure where those losses are going to come in. And it is one of the easier schedules in the country, but it's not a piece of cake schedule. September is going to be crazy because we've got 3 road games against quality opponents. So I'm not sure how good they're going to be, but I know they're not going to suck. And then we've got a premier group of 5 matchup with James Madison at home that month. So that's going to be a tough month. And then in November, we've got 5 straight conference games. Not against the toughest teams ever, but you never know. Delaware's in that mix. Could be tough, could drop one. But that's kind of my expectations for the season. We're really excited about it, though. Excited to see who wins some of these position battles, especially quarterback. But in closing, since this is a Sun Belt episode, I've got to do my yearly reminder that the Liberty Flames, since joining the FBS in 2018, are 11-3 against current Sun Belt teams. 11-3, 2 more opportunities this year. Poor ODU is 0-4 against us since 2018. I hope to continue that and make that 0-5. And the week before that is the big game against JMU. So that's another big opportunity. Those 2 games there worry me because of the high of the JMU game, followed by a sneaky tough, potentially game on the road at Old Dominion. Makes me nervous. Know we can win them both. Going to be a great game on September 20th, though. Thanks, guys. Go Group of 5. Go Flames.
Appreciate you, Zach. Good to hear from you, my friend. It's been a while.
Great to hear from Zach. He's on a social media hiatus.
So I could use that.
Glad he said, yeah, right. I'm glad he's still checking out the show.
Yep.
That's all we got, Jeff?
That's it.
I mean,
it's not bad. 2 hours.
I'm exhausted. I've been in here doing podcasts since 6:30.
Well, my friend, just waste of the day where you're making millions of dollars doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is on Paramount Plus, and you have to buy all kind of streaming platforms to watch our show. I can't wait to do that. When we can just drop that bomb on people. Oh, sorry guys, but now you want to watch, you got to have Peacock.
That's right.
But hey,
we'll
never. Yeah, I don't want to say we'll never because I might sell out real quick. But anyway, we appreciate everybody watching, everybody listening. I hope you enjoyed all these previews. Make sure you check them all out. If you're a Conference USA fan, you want to check out the Sun Belt so you can see who you're playing in your non-conference. Check all that. Check all those out there on YouTube. Check out all our spring and summer interviews we had with all the head coaches. Go to the Believe Network. Make sure you subscribe to the show on there. Follow the social media platforms at Group of 5 Guys. Most importantly, share with your family and friends. God bless the Group of 5. God bless the Group of 5 Guys. We're out of here.